Hello and welcome to another video on Formula 1 2012. In this video I want to talk about the gaming wheel setup that I use, because I had a few people asking me how do I set up my gaming wheel, because Codemasters have kind of screwed up since F1 2011. So in this video, this will just be for those people that use a gaming wheel for F1 2012 and want to know how to, properly use it. Because the game doesn't, for me anyway, doesn't do a very good job of setting it up. Okay, now first I want to explain what all the things mean. So what I imagine steering Deadzone is essentially so imagine if a wheel is staying where it is, okay, so it's in the neutral position. And then your steering Deadzone is essentially how much you turn the wheel to the left and right until the game picks up what you're doing. So if you don't want the wheel to be really twitchy, if it is at 0%, you want to set the Deadzone to a slightly higher percentage, like a 5%, which will then mean that you have to turn the wheel more to actually make something happen in the game. Now this is quite useful if, again, you have a if you have a twitchy wheel, or if you just if that's how you like playing. If you don't like your wheel also being 1-to-1 ratio to real life, then you could set Deadzone as well. So this is a good definition of steering Deadzone, is the percent of rotation where steering is ignored. So that's I hope you understand what that means. Now, steering saturation is how quickly your wheel responds to movements. So if you have that on 100%, it will make the wheel and the car handle quite oddly, because it's going to again be probably quite twitchy and quite annoying to drive. Now, steering linearity is essentially how much you turn your wheel to how much the wheels in the car move, and also the wheel in the game. So if you want it to be like real life, you would actually set the steering linearity, I can't even pronounce it anymore, to 50%. This gives a 1-to-1 ratio, which means that turning your wheel 20 degrees to the left will also turn the wheel in the car 20 degrees to the left. It's what I use, and I think it works the best. I'll go over what I actually use just when I finish this. Now, throttle Deadzone is a lot like steering Deadzone. It's the percent of the throttles that's ignored. So if you increase the value, it will mean that the more you depress the pedal, the more the throttle won't actually work in the game. So if you want to do that again, you can do that too, but I don't see the point, so I just keep it on 0. And obviously throttle saturation and the sensitivity of the pedal. Now, if you want a lower sensitivity, you would reduce this value, and it's helpful. It's basically helpful if you want. So if you're going out of a corner and you don't want it to be accurately mapped, if you stamp on the throttle out of corners and you don't want to spin out, you would set this to a fairly low value, so sensitivity isn't as sensitive. So for example, is the difference between so for example, if you press the pedal really quickly or really slowly, it won't make a difference. Now again, brake Deadzone and brake saturation is essentially the same. Now these are the settings I use. For steering Deadzone I have 1%, steering saturation I have 4%, and steering linearity I have 50%. Now, I'll tell you why I use these. Steering Deadzone, I don't want my wheel to be that twitchy, and it's fairly twitchy anyway, and it's a good wheel. It's a Thrustmaster F430 gaming wheel, so I keep that 1%. Steering saturation, I keep at 4, because that's just what works for me. I like the sensitivity of it being at 4. It just works. And steering linearity, I use it at 50%. and it seems to work for me because I like having a realistic representation of the wheel in the game, and I like the setting. So hopefully that makes everything much more clear. Now also, I want to talk about force feedback in the game. Obviously I use force feedback, my wheel supports it, and I have my wheel weight, I believe, at 50%, and my feedback strength at 100%, and my environmental effects at 30%, which seems to work well and have the wheel vibrates and makes it a lot more realistic when you're driving, and I think it works well. By the way, I'd like to add on to what I've said in a previous video about Formula 1 2012. The steering and the way cars handle in this game is still a little bit off, in my opinion. It's still not as good as Formula 1 2011. Formula 1 2011 driving was a lot more, not easy, but like possible. I'll say that it was a lot more achievable to drive easily. Not easily, to drive well. In this game, I find it much more difficult, and in the gameplay, I mean, it's just awful. I've even had to put on the guide line on the track just around the corners, so I actually know what I'm doing. Because usually, I mean, the braking is completely messed up. I don't even know when to brake. It's just really weird. I don't know what they've done again, but it's very annoying. So that's what I have to say about that. Now, some wheels might not need any setup, some wheels might need a lot more. I don't have a clue about that. I just use setup as it is, as I told you. So, okay guys, hope you enjoy the video, and I will see you next time. See you later.